here we are again. Start another assembly. This one for Fraser, a buddy of mine. This one's pretty special because this is a frame that I built from scratch. Unfortunately, I started this filming journey after I fucking fabricated this frame. So it would have been nice to film the whole fabrication of the frame and do all that sort of stuff so I could show you the whole process. But anyway, I fabricated this frame just out of some tube that I bought and just bent it all up, welded it together. My buddy Joel laser cut a lot of the plates in this to try and make it look as original Harley as possible. Like these plates are the exact profile of a Harley axle plate. Obviously just they're 2D instead of being a 3D cast piece. So I try and make it look pretty the same. All the dimensions are pretty well the same. This one I've had to modify a bit, obviously because it's got the Evo in it, but we'll get to that soon. So I've already got the seat made and everything, so this is hopefully just going to be a pretty straightforward assembly. I can do it pretty quickly. I've actually got two to assemble at the same time, so hopefully I can just do the same parts in the process both at the same time, try and save a bit of time. So the power plant in this one is an early bottom breather Evo, so basically shovel bottom end with some Evo heads on it. So they are a ridiculously reliable engine, very fast for what they are, and just great bang for your buck. They're probably half the price of a shovel head these days, so, and obviously way better. So Fraser bought that from who knows where, some guy, came out of a running bike as usual. So I haven't pulled it apart or anything, I'm just going to put it in and hope for the best. So that's that. He's got a Super E and stuff to put on it, so earlier style carb. He should have a CV, which is a better carburetor, but you wanted an E, that's what he's going to get. So it's an early 4-speed tranny, that's like a 65-ish transmission. So that's the one I just rebuilt on the last video I did. So if you want to see how to rebuild a 4-speed tranny from the ground up, go and watch that video. But that gearbox is all fresh, ready to go. So he's got a belt primary to go with it. So Evo, belt primary, 4-speed. He's got a shovel rear wheel, not drum brake or anything, it's just disc brake, which is probably better because this thing's actually probably going to be pretty fast and drums can be pretty hit and miss sometimes. So that's that. Fraser painted this frame, this army bluish color, and when I got it, it was a bit flat and I wasn't really overly stoked with putting together with a pretty flat paint job. So I went ahead and cleared the frame and the tank. My brother did all the artwork on the tank, the flame job. Cheers for that, Shawnee. So he did all that. I just had to clear it and finish it off. So it's coming out 10 times better, I think. Not saying it looks shit, Fraser, but it looks way better now. So this will be pretty similar to putting Dale's bike together, the last shot that I did. I'm going to try and do it in a few parts so you don't have to watch some 2-hour long thing about me talking about nothing as usual. So this is probably going to take a few weeks because this isn't, you know, Orange County choppers or whatever. There's not 10 people working on a bike buying all the parts and just bolting them together. Everything on this bike is fucking handmade. Everything is tweaked. You can't just buy anything, bolt it on, it doesn't work like that. Everything's handmade, everything has to be tweaked. So this is going to take a while, and hopefully videos like this can show people that these aren't just a throw together thing. These bikes with aftermarket frames and frames I've built myself, every single part, it has to be custom after that. So you'll see all the little bits and bobs that I'll have to make this thing work. Like I'm gonna have to do foot pegs. I've got a full exhaust I'm gonna have to make on this, so I'll go through a stainless exhaust. We'll make that. I've done all the rear wheel mounting and the brake stay and everything, so that's pretty sorted. But I think that's pretty well it. He's got like a short little FLH front end to go on it, so this will be a pretty small little bike. Gonna have a pretty short little flat bar sissy, so I'll make that as well. I've already mounted all the guard and everything. This is the guard with a nice little flame on the back of it. Like I said, it's all mounted already. Oh, where the hell's the oil bag? I have an early style oil bag for this thing somewhere. Where the hell is it? Here it is. So, I did need to have this out. So, early style, just a Reebok oil bag. I think black's probably going to suit it because, like I said, it's pretty dark blue, the engine's black. I absolutely hate black engines, but I think it might suit it being blue. There might be a bit too much silver, so a black engine, black tank. I probably might even get Shawnee to put something on that when it's in there. It might need a little bit of his flame job on that, so that might change yet, but that's pretty well it. So the first stage of this is just going to be, I'm going to put the motor in, I'm going to put the tranny in, I'm going to put the guard on, just sort of pretty well mock everything up, and then I'm going to have to get bolts for it all. Obviously the most painful part of this whole process is getting fasteners. So I'm going to put all that in, bolt it all in, and basically I think after I've bolted everything in and done all that, I'll start on the exhaust and the sissy bar, start doing the fabrication bits. He's got a full tin primary, like a smooth pan outer and stuff for this, so that'll be pretty cool. I'll have to make foot pegs out around that. That's pretty well it. I think he's got bars and stuff for it, so I have to make that. And then yeah, just wire it up, plumb it up and see what it does. Take this thing for a good road wrap. So this one's not registered yet, so that's something we're gonna have to deal with. I'm not going to incriminate myself at all by talking about that, so I think I'll just get going on this. We'll start putting it together. I might move this camera around, get a bit closer so you don't have to look at me, and then put it together. So like I said, it'll probably be a few part series, so I'll try and post one every week, but working my other job of doing this sometimes gets the best of me and it doesn't happen. So hopefully I keep on top of it. You probably thought I retired the milk crate, upgraded myself, not a chance. So I'm about to put this engine in. I'm going to tape up some of the parts where I'm probably going to smash the engine into it, and I want to F up my amazing paint job. So a bit here where the head's usually very close, and I actually know it's very close there because I obviously fabricated this frame around that engine and gearbox, and right there is incredibly close. I'm almost out of tape, so it's not going to get a huge deal, but right there the head's close as well. Up here the head's really close. I try and make these frames as sort of tight and jam-packed as possible, because that's one way to tell an aftermarket frame. There's usually a huge gap over the head and all sorts of stuff. Original Harley stuff is super, super close. Like, you have a look at like heads, like on a shovel, or tanks on a shovel, they are super close to the heads because it's all solid mounted, nothing moves. So I like to make the frame super, super tight to the point where I even crush the pipe, the top tube and everything, so the head sits in there super, super tight. I'll show you that. Let's fucking manhandle this thing and see if I can't destroy my paint. So luckily these are a bit lighter than your average shovel, so try to go as easy as I can. There's a few ways to do this, but come on mate, there you go. Super, super tight. Woo! It's a fucking big motor, eh? Where's the wire up? Super big engine. So I'll pull this stuff off now. There's special tape you can get from this, but you know me. Dodgy up. Oh, I've got a little bit of a mark there, but that's alright. Not terrible, but oh yeah, another little mark, that's alright. Yeah, I'll show you how tight this engine is in here. And I do this on purpose. So, super tight, like have a look in front here. Like that in the other corner is super tight, there's like a mil gap there. Like I said, I crushed that top tube. Like everything is super tight. And I do that on purpose. I think it makes it look better. Makes it look like the engine's bigger. It's like shaving around your dick. Makes it look bigger, same thing. So there's that. Let's chuck the gearbox in again and just have a little look-see. So, like I said, I just rebuilt this thing for Fraser, so this thing is going to be mint. Look like Shrek's, oh, if I put it in the right way, look like Shrek's swamp in there when I pulled it apart, but it is absolutely Mickey Mouse now. So, just trying to go easy on it. So, gearbox in. Looks pretty good. This is the first time I'm seeing this together as well, so that's why I'm standing back and looking around like an idiot. But it is super, super close. So, pretty happy with that. This is like an Ultima oil pump, and it's obviously for a oil cooler or something at the front. The return line shoots that way. So, I might have to make a tricky little 90-degree fitting and poke it back out that way into the tank. Oh, that's right. So I might put the oil bag in, have a look at that, make sure that all lines up. I'll get the, like I said, I've just got a heap of assembly bolts that are all probably too long or something, so I'll use them just to mop this up. I've got to remember how I did this now. I know the rear guard holds the back of this, so it's been a while. Oh, I didn't get some parts out. So bear with me, I just got to get some parts out. Bear with me. I got a heap of shit. Here they are. Yeah, so the way I attach this rear guard to this, I just make some little alloy blocks, and they go between the guard and the back of the frame. So I need to get some bolts without destroying that. Put some long 8/8. That should do. I'll get some nuts. So a lot of people are probably going to whinge about this, but we're in Australia. This bike is going to be ridden in Australia, and it's actually really hard to get Imperial bolts in Australia out everywhere. No one seems to stock the shit, no one's interested in it, so everything frame related, or like all the fasteners are metric. Because if you're out on a big ride in the middle of nowhere, that's going to be the most common bolt out there that you can buy if you need to replace something or you've lost something or anything like that. So all the guard and everything is metric fasteners, tanks metric fastener. Obviously all the engine and gearbox stuff is going to be Imperial again, just because it has to be. But like I said, that's because it's so hard to find Imperial bolts in Australia. So people are probably going to whinge that I've got mix and match bolts on here. Not because I'm a lazy prick, it's because I've been out on a big long ride before in the middle of nowhere and couldn't get Imperial bolts. So I know from experience that it's easier just to put metric stuff in what you can. So that's why. So let's put this in. So that guy, I've just got a bolt through the tranny plate, that, and then like I said, these guys go through the back of the guard. Oh, the paint is big. Look at that. So that's through there. That's nice, that's really nice. Paint is real freaking big. Like I said, I haven't done any bolts or anything for the sissy bar. I did the same thing on Dale's. I did the sissy bar last, and that was only because I couldn't get material at the time because it was around Christmas time and no one works. So basically the same with this. So I'm going to do the sissy bar, all the holes and everything after the fact. So it's pretty handy because I've got the seat and everything done. I can just make the sissy bar around it. Seat's sometimes the hardest part to get done. So where's my little oil bag? So this guy, if I've done this correctly, it has to go together in a certain order or it doesn't go. And I think I've done it wrong. I think this has to come off. Like I said, I do make this all super tight to make it look better. Yep, that's what I thought. So I need to loosen this a bit. Come on, bruh. Let me in. Alright, I've done this in the wrong order. Just bear with me here. Now we're on. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. If you have to take the oil bag out, you're going to hate yourself, but it's pretty similar with Harley stuff too. It's not easy to get the oil bag out of the OG Harley. Oh. Don't have enough hands for this. Alright, there we go. Now we're on. Fiddly. But you should only have to do this once. Oh, come on. There we go. Now we're on. There we go. So that's the oil bag in. I think I might have to get Shawnee to put something down here. I reckon it looks a bit bare. Some more assembly bolts here. Like I said, this is just to work out some sizes so I can get the correct ones ordered. Everything's lining up real nice. It's like I did it all myself. I'm gonna have to make the, this is an early repop tank. I'm gonna have to make all these oil lines and stuff because obviously they're not push-on barb fittings. So that's another thing I'm gonna have to F around with. I'm really trying my best not to swear in this video too. Everyone seems to be so butthurt that I swear so much. And obviously all these people are probably not from Australia, so that's fine. But, you know, swear words here are like another vowel. Like every second word's got one. So, that's pretty sweet, I think. So that's all that done up. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I'll put the seat on too. So that's my little dipstick. How good, where's the seat? So I made this seat pop on, like all the other seats I do. So you just gotta put a pin in the front and then you pop in the back. Just give this seat pan a bit of a jolt like that and it pops the seat in. So that's that. Let's just put the tank back on for a bit of visual. Whoa, how does that look? What do we think? What do we think? Shoo-wee! That looks pretty sweet. It's nice and tight, just like I like. I had to, if you're saying that I don't do enough custom stuff, I had to move this. This was like all the way up here, the pickup for the tank, where the petcock goes. This is all the way up here and just dove straight into this head. So I moved that back into the center. The carby sits right beside it, so this just drops down and goes straight into the carby. So I probably should have put it on the other side so you didn't see it, but it is what it is. Anyway, so this is basically what it's going to look like. Obviously, I'm going to do some pipes that are going to be fun to squeeze out of here. I think he just wants to do some big up sweeps, sort of like Dale's bike. I probably won't do them that big again. And yeah, I've just got to get bolts together now, the most annoying part. So you don't need to watch me measure up bolts. I'm going to go through, I'm going to get bolts for all this, and I'll probably bolt it all in. That's boring, you don't need to watch me swear about that. And then I suppose I'll probably get it rolling. Like I said, I've got another bike to assemble, so I'm probably going to get this rolling as it is, then assemble the next bike at the same time, do all the bolts and everything on that. And then I've got to do exhaust on that as well, so that'll be a whole another series. So heap of exhaust to do, heap of fitting to do, heap of assembling to do. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to get all the bolts for this, and then I'm going to get it off here. I'm going to put the next bike on, and I'll do exactly the same thing on that. So come back when that's done. So I've got all my bolts together. As you can see, I just got a multitude of crap here. Also, my brother went ahead and painted the oil bag for this thing too. So that's a nice little treat, nice bit of flame on that with a couple of stars. Looks good. So I'm just going to go through, I sort of want to get this thing rolling to get it off my bench here. So I'm going to go through, put all the bolts in this thing, then we're going to shave the front end and do all that sort of stuff. He wants shaved, so it's like an FLH, really short, wide glide, shaved lowers, nice and polished. So I'm going to bolt this up, bolt everything together, and then we're going to go and do the front end. So let's get stuck in. Alright, this is just about as crazy as I go cutting stuff off, like super simple, just cutting little bits off. I was just thinking as well, don't be put off that I'm using a lathe to do this. Like, you don't need to use a lathe to do this if you don't have one at your disposal. You can just get one of these little guys. This is like an angle grind. This is something I got off eBay, and it was like $120, and it comes with a heap of different grits, papers here. And you can literally use this to do exactly the same job. You don't need to put in the lathe. Even on, so this is later model stuff, which is parallel, but on early stuff like this is actually tapered. So you don't want to put this in the lathe because that'll make it dead straight. So when I do early pan stuff, I actually only use this. So don't be put off that I'm using a lathe, like, oh, I don't have a lathe, I can't do it. Yes, you can, just use one of these, because you can just come along and just do exactly the same thing. Just like that. And that's gonna give you the same effect if you just keep going around slowly and slowly. So, right, I've cut this off enough. I'm gonna leave this guy, this is the drain bung. Sometimes when people do these things completely shaved, narrow as, they get rid of this and they put a BSB tap in here. And then you just put a flush bung in there. I don't like doing that. I find they always fucking leak. So I'm gonna leave that on and I'm just gonna mold around it. So that stays factory and then the rest is all nice and polished. So I'm gonna do the same to the other one and then we'll chuck them in the lathe. Okay, now I got this guy in the lathe. I just put it in a center so that I can hold it straight from the edge here so I can do the whole lot in one go. You usually always want to use a sharp tool for aluminium because it's soft and it rips easily. So you get a better finish with a sharp insert. So I'm just gonna come through and just knock this off as close as I can to the body without cutting into it. So I can just come through with a buff and just finish off the little bits. As I said, I'm gonna leave this on and just come up to somewhere here and then blend it with the buff. So we'll just go through. It's gonna be a bit loud, but. So I'm basically just gonna keep doing that, just take a little bit at a time until all this is nicely taken off. As I said, as close to the body without cutting into it, and then I'll come in with the buff. So I'll come back when I'm ready to get the buff going. So like with any polishing, when you're gonna make something shiny, you start with a heavy grit. So this is like an 80, and then you make your way down to the finest you got. I think I go to about 600, and then this will polish up nice. So we'll start going over this a bit. With this, I usually have this spinning the opposite direction that this spins, and then I can slowly just go up and down. But like I said, if you don't have a lathe, you can just do this in your trusty little vise. So I'm just cheating a bit, that's all. Just makes it a bit faster, that's all. So now this is completely roughed out. You can see I've kept the shape, but I haven't made it completely round. So I've left this guy, as you can see, I've just blended that in nicely. Just blended it around that, so it's all gonna be like one nice uniform leg at the end of it. So this is roughed out at I went to 60 because it wasn't coming off enough. So that's all roughed out at 60 grit. And I'm gonna do the other leg exactly the same, get it to the same point. And then I'm gonna come through and we'll go to 120, 240, probably 400, then 600. So that's gonna take fucking forever. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And when we're at the polishing stage, I'll come and show you some more about it. So this is 600. So that's nice and very flat now. It's good to polish. So this is a good comparison. This is 60 grit, 600 grit. So you can see the difference in the scratches, so much smaller, closer together. So 600 is about all you need to go to polish it. So you just chuck that 600 straight on, mind all my shit, straight on your humble little buff. So I've just got a second cut or something this is called with some pretty heavy cut buff there. And then this is the light guy, just the cloth with some pretty light stuff. So you go over with that first, obviously, and then go over it with this. If you want a really nice finish, you go over it twice with this guy. But I'm pretty lazy and won't do that. So let's go do that, and we'll come back when I've buffed that, and you'll get the comparison again. So here it is. This is polished on 60 grit. So you can see I haven't even gone over this much. I've literally just hit it with that second cut with a bit of wax and then hit it with the cloth with a bit of wax, and that's how it comes up. So that is more than good enough for what we're dealing with. So I'm going to go ahead and do exactly the same process to this one, so they're both done, and then we will start putting this front end together. Both lowers shaved, polished, good to go now. So I've just pulled apart, those are the trees. So those are the raked soft tail trees. We're going to replace them with these just normal ones, as we spoke about. So I'm going to reuse all the seals and shit out of this because they haven't had much use, they've just been sitting around. So we're going to tear these apart and put the seals out of these into them and then put together a front end, I reckon. Alright, here it is, all finished, all done, nice and polished, looks a go. So now I just need to put together a bike to put it on. Alright, so this is pretty much it. I've just taken it all the way back so it's now a spool. It's still got these little divots where the bolt holes used to be, so I think I might just drill them out so they're the same as the other side. And then this is done. I'll give this rim a bit of a polish while it's on here, drill them holes, and then this is a spool out of an alloy hub. Very inexpensive way to put a spool on your front wheel. I think this is like a $50 wheel. Do a little bit of machining, you got yourself a spool. But I might as well show you the side. That's how it sort of turned out. Polish this side as well, like I said. These little dimples, I'm just gonna drill them out the same as the other side so it looks symmetrical, but this is the side that had the brake boss on there for the disc. So that's all gone now, and that is one very inexpensive spool wheel. Here's the fucking wheel, all done. Got a tire on it from me boy Dave Oliver. Wheel done. But I have just realized that my standard early wide glide axle will not work. So here's my crude drawing. I've got to make one. All right, so Fraser's front end, I got to make an axle for it because it's some weird axle and it's easier just to fucking make it than buy it. So this is a fucking crude bit of steel, used to be some sort of a drive shaft, obviously. I'm gonna machine this to make it work. This is probably just some semi-bright or something, no special steel. It's gonna be a 3/4 axle, so it doesn't need to be anything special. Early axles were all fucking 1/2 inch and shit anyway, so this should be good. So let's get started. All right, so I've got the piece in the machine. I just faced it off. Now I need to make the shouldered end first, so the large end, so that I can hold that side and machine the other side. So that was 1.45 or something. So we'll just lock that there. Just doing this a trick way. So let's turn her on. And I'm just gonna scrape it. So that's the line I've got to machine to. So I'm gonna machine that to size and we'll come back when I've done that. Right, so this should be to size. Got a bit of chatter like an asshole. Yep, so 1.1/8. That's the size of the wide glide, the clamp side. So that's that side. So now I'm going to turn this around and machine the axle side where the bearing will sit on. Right, so this is the other way around, but I am putting a center in this because it's too long to machine the whole thing unsupported. So we put a center in like that so we can put this tailstock in it and machine the whole thing in one go. Alright, so this is what I mean by having it in a center. This is what we call a center. So I've got that side in the center supported and then this side in the chuck, the drive side. So let's just go in here, touch on. And that's that. I've got a long way to go. Still going. This is what you gotta fucking do. Oh, it's got some in the mouth. This is what you gotta do when this is the only bit of steel you got. Pointy edge machining. Alright, so we are on final cut now. So let's test this and see what it does. So when you're on final cut, what you do, you just machine a little bit like that, stop it, take it away, get your verniers. What are we working with? Fucking hell, look at that. So that's a little bit under where you want it. I'll probably give it a little bit more, so I'll just give this a knock. Give it another fucking thou or so. I'm gonna call that it, finishing cut. Alright, so we're all on size. This is the shafts finished. So this is 5/8, so 0.625. This is 3/4, 0.75. So usually when you got a machine like this, over a large distance, it will machine out. So this is pretty good. Over whatever a foot, it's machined, it's only out 0.002. So 2 thou over a foot is not bad. So it's like 2 thou under 3/4 here and like maybe 3 or 4 thou under here. So that is fine. That'll be nice going on. I'll put this in the front end now and start making some spaces. But before any of that, let's put this thread on. All right, so now I'm going to do the thread here. And the way I'm going to do that's a bit of a cheat. I'm going to use this die. So I'm going to power tap this. Yes, I could put an insert in and machine this manually, but this is so fast. It's just a die in a holder in the tailstock. And all you gotta do is start it and then you just use the machine and then it winds itself on. So I'll go ahead and do that. So what I talk about when I say power tapping, I'm using the chuck. So I've got this little fucking jog button here. So I just slowly jog it. And because I got the thread started, I've got plenty of room there in the tailstock. It just pulls itself in. Super easy, super simple, super fast. All right, so that's it. That's my little trick there. That guy is so handy. And there's my little fucking nut sorted. So that's the thread on there. I've left this long so I can knock off what I don't need after I get a nut and tighten it up on the front end. Then I'll knock it off flush with the nut. But that is pretty well it. Let's get the chuck key going. See if I can do this one-handed. No whackers. There you have it. That is one wide glide axle. That easy. Sometimes it's easier just to make this shit. Like that took me probably, I don't know, an hour to make. You probably fucking spend that long looking for this online and then you still have to buy it. This is probably a couple dollar piece of steel and I've just knocked that out of it. And this was a weird one. That's a big bell. Usually they're an inch or something, and this was 1.1/8. But that's that. Done. Another piece to Fraser's puzzle. Alright, so I had to do some stuff for the rear wheel. I made these axle adjusters. So I just machined up this guy and then I just welded some threaded rod to it. So the axle adjusters work like that. So that's pretty well the last thing for the rear section that I need to make. I bought this too. This is I wanted to slow it down a bit. So this is a 49 tooth. So hopefully the engine revs a bit less on the highway. I've got a 25 tooth in the front sprocket. So hopefully that's pretty close. If we need to change it, I can always change that. Those things are pretty cheap. So I'm gonna put this front end on. You saw me make the axle and everything for it. I got the bearings and the dust caps and all that sort of stuff sorted. So I think I might put the front end on and then I'll put the rear end on and get this thing rolling so I can sit it up and start sussing out the exhaust because I've got all the exhaust mounts. So I'm gonna go through and make an exhaust from scratch, a custom one. The only thing that's gonna be a bit different, he's got some upsweep tips. So I basically just have to do the front section with the two upsweeps and then he's got some tips that'll go on it. I'm not sure if they'll be as tall as Dale's, but they should be pretty sweet. So the other thing I did behind the scenes, I've got all the carby stuff nutted out. Just because this is a Super E on an Evo, had like a weird SNS manifold that was a prick to find gaskets for. One problem led to the next, but that's all sorted now. I just have to make a little mount. So I'll probably do it like a normal Super E on a shovel, just a mount from the bottom bolt down to that center case bolt. So I've got the petcock sorted out. Oh fuck. Edit that out, please. So petcock's all sorted, that's all good. I'm making some oil lines too, not sure if I'm repeating myself, but I'll leave that for now. I'll probably make them around the exhaust anyway, so I'll do the exhaust stuff first. So I'll set this up, and we'll put this front end on and start messing around and get this thing rolling today, I reckon. Alright, so this front end, I've basically done everything. Machined the axle, which you saw, machined the wheel hub, which you saw. Pretty much done everything but the wheel spaces. So I might just put this thing on, suss out how it looks, and then I'll just make the wheel spaces while it's up here in the lathe quickly. So I've got some bearings, I've got some dust caps, so let's throw this thing together quickly. And then I'll look at doing the spaces and shit. So top bearing, then dust cap, then tight tensioning guy. Make sure you put this guy around the right way too. It's got to go up into the neck, into the top tree. So. I'll get your little shifter and do that up. Ow! So you don't want these bearings too tight, but you also don't want them too loose. Bearings have to have pre-tension. So you want them to be under a bit of pressure, but not too much that you can't turn the thing. So it's still got to be able to turn nicely. It's just got to have pressure on it. So more, basically tighten it up till it gets firm and then get it back a little bit. That's usually what I do. There you go. Oh, it's starting to get firm because it's hitting on the cup. How annoying. I don't know which side, but it looks like the top. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take the top dust cap off and then tighten on the bearing and make sure that it's not the bottom dust cap fouling on the cups. So I'm going to do that and then we'll come back and I'll have this thing all together. Alright, so I got all this dust cap dialed. It wasn't actually hitting, so I can just go ahead and put that on. So put our little triple tree on. Make sure it lines up on the inside. There it is. Fucking grouse. It's not too tight, which is good. That's that. I'll just put the top nut on just to... Okay, so I got the front end all on, all sorted out, got the desired feel here, so that's all sorted. Now I'm gonna do the axle spacers. So as you saw in my last videos, I made this axle because sometimes it's easier to make than to try and buy and find. So that's that. My wheel as well that I made into a spool. So basically just work out, I'm pretty sure this tire is non-directional, so I can put it on either which way. Yeah, non-directional tire, so I'd rather put the nice side A side. So we'll put it this way around. I'll put the axle through. That's not gonna work. Move this forward a bit. So we'll put the axle through like this. Come on, bruh, play the game. Right, there it is. Of course, it's a bit heavy now. There we go. So, axle's through. We'll just put it to whereabouts we want it. So now I want to measure up some axle spaces, right? So the material I use is this alloy, right? And the ID of this alloy is actually 3/4. So I don't have to bore it. Yeah, 10th over 3/4. So it's very close. What's the OD? OD is 1 inch. So you could use this material for quite a few things. But this is the material I use because then I just got to cut it to size, put it in, polish it, and then it's done. So we want to center this wheel before we can measure anything. So we just eye that to start with, and then I'll get my little rule. All right, I freaking found it. It was right in front of me. So basically I just go through and measure each side of the rim to the inside of the fork tube. So that's like 58. That's like 53. Obviously go back this way a bit. So you don't want to measure it down here because these will almost never be the same. You want to measure it up the top where it's actually going to be in between the fork sliders. So that's 55 on the dot, and that's 55 on the dot. So that's pretty well spot on there. So then we want to come through and measure the spacing between the inside of the bearing and the fork slider. But I always do one side at a time. Don't measure both and make both and put them in and hope for the best. Make one so then you can knock the wheel up against it and then make the other one. So 9 times out of 10 you just come in here and go foots. So that is, I'm gonna say, you can always make them smaller, but you can't make them bigger. So I'm gonna make this one 900 thou. And then I'll put it in, measure it again, see what it says, and then I'll come over when it's right and make this side. So I'll go ahead, cut this, make it on the lathe, and we'll come back when I've done it. All right, so my spaces are all done. As you can see, wheel's nice in the center, that's all sweet. So there's my little spaces there. So just a little trick for players at home. Don't polish these until you've done both and you know it's right. So many times I've made one, polished it, and then gone to make the other one and then realized the one I've just polished is wrong. So make them both first, fucking put them in, make sure it's all sweet, and then take them out and polish them. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do now. And I've left this long, so I'm gonna put the nut on when this is all done, tighten it all up, and then I'm gonna hack the end of the whatever's hanging out off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and do the rear wheel, I reckon. Get this thing rolling today. All right, we've reached a bit of a milestone, so you know what that fucking means? Yes. So, look at this. Got it rolling. So this is the first time I've seen it rolling. Actually, it's not, but it used to have raked trees. So this is the first time with a 30 degrees rake and I've seen it. And it looks pretty fucking sweet. So there's about, I don't know, 10 mil underneath that back wheel. So it's still gonna level out a bit more, but looks pretty staunch like that. Looks like a bit of a bobber, but once it's got some bars and I'm gonna do a flat bar, sissy bar. I don't know, the same sort of height as the bars, so like maybe there or something. So once it's got that on it, and the number plate will cover the back of the seat, which fucking looks weird. So the number plate will sit there and then tail light above it. So all that'll look sweet. I've just sort of mocked up the rear wheel, haven't put the caliper or nothing on, just because I'm gonna have to take it apart again to do like the sissy bar stuff and bolts, and I've got to shorten the little tab for the seat. I need to put bolts in the sprocket. I just wanted to make sure that it lined up with the gearbox, which it does. So I'm happy with that. The front end looks badass. So once that's got a headlight, and I'm gonna have to machine some little bungs for the top triple tree. So this has got a double dog bone sort of style. So I'm gonna put these, they're gonna go on it, and then I'm gonna have dog bones, and then the front end. Machine these little guys up. So these are obviously for the top tree like that. So I machined them, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. Then we put our risers, and then he's got dog bones. So it should look pretty sweet up on this thing. So I'll go ahead, bolt all this down, and then we'll see what these bars look like on here. Should look pretty fucking sweet. As you can see, you got Scott's thing all up and together now. I got the Maggie on that, so you'll see that in the other video. But all right, there you have it. That is part 1 of Fraser's Evo chopper build. So it's been a few weeks since I posted something. I've been a bit fucking busy. I had the Mama's Boys run. I had to put fucking Ben's pan together for that run. Video's still coming out for that, haven't forgotten. As you can see, there's shit everywhere. I got a pan in for a tune. I got Freddie's fucking Softail Evo that I'm cutting up in the background. Got fucking Scott's shovel head here that I'm putting together as well. Got a video for this coming as well. Out of frame, I've got, you know, Joel's little sporty I'm gonna do a top end on. Got a whole fleet of engines over there on the table that I'm gonna have to rebuild and put into bikes and all sorts of shit. So I've got shit going on, get off my fucking back. This was part 1, stay tuned for the next part. I'm gonna be wiring this thing up. I'm gonna be doing an exhaust. I'm gonna be doing everything. I've got a sissy bar as well, sorry. Sissy bar, exhaust, oil lines, wiring, and then test riding. So I'll take this thing test riding. We'll take some footage of me fucking ripping this thing around. Should be a good fun bike. You know, nice and short, not stupid little drag bars, nice bars, heaps of power, sound good, it'll rip. Can't wait, stay tuned for that.